Hello, everyone. My name is Rafal, and I would like to welcome everyone to my Headshot Photography podcast. Today, I have a very special guest. Svetlana Yanova is in the house. She's an amazing headshot photographer from Calgary. We've just talked a little bit prior we went live, how common and similar path of photography we had, which is fascinating because it seems like we went through the same hardship to get where we are today, which is very fascinating. And I've been following for your work. I've been following your work for a very long time. As I mentioned, you are one of the top hatchet photographers in Calgary, probably in Alberta, and then we can kind of stretch it also to Canada because I know we work all over our country. And I'm so excited to talk to you because
Thank you.
first of all, we're in the same city. We've
Mhm.
kind of having the same challenges.
Yeah.
We're going through some turmoil when it comes to economy, so we can actually jump on some of those things as well. So thank you for accepting my invitation, and
Thank
I'm
you. Thank
super
you for
honored to
having me.
to talk to you and dive into our headshot photography industry.
Well, Rafael, right back at you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to chat with you too. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. So, let's start with we talk a little bit about how we got into headshot photography, and it seems like we have very similar path. But if you could share, how did you even? Because I know, like as I said, we both coming from wedding
Mhm.
photography industry, which it's I would say
It's a different
different entity.
piece.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then we had to switch somehow into the headshot photography. And before I'm gonna dive into some deeper questions because I know for me it felt like it's going to be easy process, but when I start shooting headshots, all of a sudden this whole thing becoming way more challenging than I thought. And I
Mhm.
think all wedding photographers has that kind of ego that like, oh, if I can do wedding, I can do
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
But then when you jump into headshots, all of a sudden, even it seems like it's easy. For me, at least, was a quite a bit of process to adjust to like lighting, to working with people one on one, to learning how to interact with them properly. So it was a long journey.
Mhm.
And at the same time, it was something that took me quite some time to learn this stuff. So tell me a little bit your story and how did you adjust and how even you decided to jump into headshot photography.
Thank you. Like you, I started with weddings when I first started photography in 2008. And funny story, not funny, haha, but funny in what actually came out of it. In 2015, I was doing photography and I had a full-time job as well.
Okay.
I was working at an oil and gas company full-time and did weddings on the weekends, the way that a lot of photographers work and operate. In 2015, I was actually laid off.
Hmm.
And my first headshot client was the company that helped the employees from my company transition into um, other like jobs and stuff like
Hmm.
this. And as I was sitting in that room, I thought to myself, I was like, wait a second, I don't need to be looking for another job.
Hmm.
I I'm gonna do photography full time. And the ladies and not just the employees of the company that were helping us, but the people from my company that needed those services,
Hmm.
um, they kind of came together and we had this idea of having essentially like a day of headshots. So it's like
Hmm.
everybody's gonna need a headshot when they're looking for jobs, right? So I, at that time, had no idea about lighting and like not much anyways, right? My only notion of lighting was from like lighting receptions and that's it.
Yeah.
Um, Definitely not lighting a headshot. So they were kind of like my guinea pigs on
Mhm.
uh, how I started with headshots. I brought my light, I fiddled with it, I got through the day, I got a whole bunch of photos. I still see those, still 10 years later, I still see those photos on LinkedIn because I connected
Mhm.
with some of the people, they're still using those headshots, which
Yeah.
is so funny. And I actually fell in love with working with people one-on-one. I find it very, gratifying. I love connecting with a person. I feel like you can get a lot more out of a person when it's just the two of you chatting, even if it's only for a few minutes.
Mhm.
Because people tend to tell photographers a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
Usually it's, they're sharing their insecurities, they're sharing what they like about themselves, what they don't like about themselves, things that they're, it's like, oh, especially women, I'm guilty of that, right? They're like, oh, my weight, my back, like whatever, my hair, like all that kind of stuff. Like they'll find something to worry about. And I loved reassuring them that no matter what their insecurities are, I know 100% they will look their best in the
Mhm.
photos, whether it's through lighting or through the way I pose them to make them look a little slimmer, or like Photoshop, like nothing wrong with
Mhm.
Photoshop.
Well, it's part of what we do anyways, right? I think Photoshop is mandatory, like if you really think about
Yeah,
it, it's not something we can avoid. And and
yeah.
you probably agree with me that,
Mhm,
there's a lot of photographers out there who, like, I understand the images, they have to come out good from the camera,
from the beginning, yeah.
but we
Mhm,
have those tools which can enhance certain things, and nobody's perfect, right? Like I
mhm,
think that's another thing, that everyone has some flaws, and then we have to
mhm,
readjust those stuff. So tell me, who inspire you, like when you started, because I think we all had some people we were look up to, when
mhm,
it comes to headshots. So who was your inspiration, and who was just kind of your person who kind of help
mhm.
you with kind of be on the right path with the style you're going after when it comes to headshots?
So the main person I would say was, you probably know Sue Bryce from Australia. She is in
Yeah.
US. She was a huge influence on how I shoot still. Like
Mhm.
how I pose, how I talk to people. I watched all her workshops, all her creative lives. I
Mhm.
bought her, like whatever I could, like absorb the information from her, like I did.
Mhm.
I felt like she was really great at posing and connecting with people, and kind of bringing that confidence out of people. This is what I wanted to do as well. When I first started watching her, she was doing mostly those beauty sessions, like art photography, like fine art photography. I kind of started with that for a few years. I did that. Um, at some point, I realized that every single time I'm doing those, women would ask me to take a headshot for their work
Mhm.
or whatever.
Mhm.
And I was like, wait, this is what I'm going to do, because people keep asking, asking, asking. It's like, I should do what people actually need, right? Like,
Mhm.
and I could still take like a feminine, beautiful photo during a headshot session.
Mhm.
Um, but it doesn't need to be a full blown like beauty session for that. And with headshots, there is a lot more chance that people will keep coming back for
Mhm.
updates. Usually with beauty sessions, like you do it once, you kind of get it out of your system,
Mhm.
and like it's mostly a one time thing. With headshots, I get so many repeat clients that I was like, this is what I want to do. So Bryce kind of inspired me to um, essentially pursue that, right? I feel like every photographer almost like needs to find within themselves what it is that they're the best at and they're good at, and that they can make money with as well, right? What's the demand? What are people asking for?
Mhm.
And pursue that, like go towards that. Um, it doesn't mean that you can change midway. Like it's like, oh,
Mhm.
actually, I don't like this anymore. I want to do this. Um, let's say a lot of people love photographing kids. I don't photograph kids often, right? There is some stuff that I like to work more with, some stuff
Mhm.
that I don't like to, get
Mhm.
into. So, yeah, so she was probably my biggest influence in headshots when I started. Um, I'm terrible with names. There's a guy that does really fun headshots with ring lights. Oh,
Mm,
I'm sure I'm gonna get slack for not remembering his name. Hart Peter Hurley.
Peter Hurley.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Um, love his style of headshots, and I feel like I kind of implement that where people they're smiling, they're happy, they're laughing.
Mhm.
Not the same lighting. Um, I like I like soft light, but but the idea is the same, right? Just to make
Mhm.
people look confident and happy and smiley and that kind of stuff, right? So
Yeah.
um, I'm probably missing somebody. I don't know. I tend to like, especially now, I feel like I'm not up to date with.
Mhm. I think we at the beginning, I think we all kind of
Yeah,
have this like
like somebody you
heroes.
look up to. Yeah,
And then, with the time, you just kind of like focusing more on your work.
yeah.
So tell me how your work evolved over the time. Because I think with headshots is like the weddings, right? Like, at the
Mhm.
beginning, you're shooting whatever works, whatever you can
Yep.
figure it out. And then with the time, you see there's a pattern of the style of what you should. And I,
Mhm.
I know that headshots are kind of, I'm not saying the same thing over and over again, because I've been hearing all the time from people like, oh, you're shooting the same thing, like you just put the person in the no, 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 there's way more into this. So tell me, like, since you started till, let's say, up to now, how
Mhm.
you see the biggest shift, how your style of headshots have changed, and what is like the thing which, like, because I remember, again, like at the beginning, we focus on lighting and
Mhm.
cameras and lenses because that's we need to kind of figure it out. And then, at some point, it's like, okay, I got this, and now I have to focus on posing. And as you said, you're shooting beauty shots, and then you just kind of transforming them into headshots. So tell me a little bit about that kind of transformation, because you've been doing this for quite some time.
Mhm.
So you probably see how this whole thing has changed over the time.
I feel like they're getting hard to say honestly, because I started with the vision in mind, like even from the beginning. I didn't want to do like passport style
Hmm.
uh, headshots. I wanted to when people would look at the headshots that I take, I wanted people to look in the eyes. Like I want them to like not pay attention, not that much anyways, to like what they're wearing, the background. I want the face to be the main character essentially, and to do that the hardest thing for me was to learn how to talk to people in a way that even within, let's say when I'm doing corporate and I only have 5 minutes with the person, even within that 5 minutes, to make them trust me enough that they would relax and oh and not have deer in headlights look,
Hmm.
right? So I want people to look confident, beautiful. If you see, and plus Instagram changed their, you know, the thing, like the
I
grid
know, I know.
and stuff. So I don't take them too close up. I call
Hmm.
them headshots still, but they're still more like a portrait, I
Portraiture, yeah.
find. So it's still kind of, I want to say chest and up or waist and up, um, just because sometimes I love to implement hands in the photos.
Mhm.
I like to, because psychologically, if people can see hands, they trust you better, like they
Mhm.
trust you more. Um, every once in a while, I'll find like a little trick that will help people smile naturally, and I will test it on my clients to see if it's working. Some
Mhm.
stick, some don't stick, right? So
Yeah.
I'll test that. There's one that I love that I honestly can't remember who I heard it from. Probably one of my other clients. But if you say "Hey," it kind of brings this natural smile to
Mhm.
like you can say "Hey" without smiling a little bit. It doesn't
Okay.
need to be a huge smile, but it just and I've literally had people like "Hey, hey, 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 hey," like but it kind of like I feel like when they feel a little silly and playful, it comes out too. Obviously, depending on what they do and stuff. Lawyers don't usually tend to say "Hey" a lot, but
Mhm.
yeah, but it's super fun. I mostly work with lighting. Definitely started to implement lighting more and more as I progressed.
Mhm.
When I first started, I mostly work with natural light. I would find windows, I would find natural reflect, like all of that kind of stuff. So, but as I was growing, I don't know if it happened to you, Rafael, like when a client would be like, "Oh, we're looking for this kind of lighting." And you're like, "Yep,
Mhm.
I can do it." And actually, I've never done this before. And I would
Yeah,
go
yeah,
out
yeah.
like,
Yeah, we all done it. Of course, right? I know
yeah.
how to do it.
I was
And
like,
then you
"Sure."
and your head is on fire right now. Like, okay,
Yeah.
hold on.
He's like, "How am I gonna pull this off?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." I love shooting it, like even here, like by the wall, like if
Mhm.
this wall is at the studio, I love that because you can kind of, first of all, like this is another one of Sue Bryce's thing, like
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
place the woman against the wall, to slim and just to get this beautiful shape and the shoulders and the hips and all that kind
Mhm.
of stuff. So, and with those um, more zoomed out photos, I feel like it gives a client an option to have a portrait or they can crop it and have it as
Mhm.
a headshot. So kind of a little more versatile than
Mhm.
just a headshot. So, and sometimes they're looking for more stuff than just the headshots, right? It's just
Mhm.
like the lady here that you have, like Carla May, the lady in the one above.
Okay.
Yeah. So she was looking actually at this one, this photo. She just got just yesterday, she tagged me. She was featured in a magazine with this headshot.
No, nice.
So yeah, like that kind of stuff. Like sometimes they're looking for a more of a portrait style photo than a, a cropped
Yeah.
headshot. So it's nice to
Yeah.
give clients options.
And I 100% agree with you that
Mm.
because I shoot a little bit wider too. So
Yeah.
I know like a typical headshot
Oh,
is just like like Peter Hurley style is just straight
yeah.
head, right? There's
Yeah.
like literally barely see anything.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think also, especially when people bring tons of clothing and you cut off
Yeah.
everything,
Yeah. It was like, what's
people-
the point? Just
what's the point exactly? And I think the clothing brings some personality to
I
to
agree.
people, right?
I
So,
agree.
but there's one more thing what I want to mention. When you said about having people kind of like leaning on the wall,
Yeah.
I think I read this long time ago. It just hit me right now
Yeah.
that apparently when people just kind of touching something or they're leaning on something, they feel more secure. And
Oh.
and there was like a massive article about it.
Oh, wow,
Some
just
photographer
psychological
wrote it.
and just
So
kind of
you just like because if you let's say shooting headshot and someone's standing in the front of you,
yeah,
it's tense, right? Like the body gang usually gets a
yeah,
little bit tense, and then like the
yeah.
light is flashing, whatever. But apparently, when they kind of like leaning
Oh,
on the wall, it's make them feel safer.
that's awesome. Well, makes complete sense,
Sense, yeah,
right?
yeah,
Just a
yeah,
little
yeah,
kind of like you're a little closed in into something and
yeah.
yeah. Um, what was somebody saying too? It's like when you have somebody, let's say, against like next to the window and you have your reflectors and stuff like this. When people are in a smaller space, they feel a little safer too because they're like,
Mhm,
it's almost like back to basics, right? You're like, oh,
mhm,
there's, I can only stand here, I can only do this. But it kind of gives them like a sense of security, like they can't move too much
mhm.
and things like that. So, yeah, no, I love
Absolutely, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then I'm sure you've seen this right away throughout the shoot. Whenever you put them on the wall, like close to the wall,
oh,
the face expression probably changes a little bit.
they
So
just relax a little
yeah.
bit. Yeah.
So let's dive a little bit deeper and tell me, like, how do you connect with your subject? Like, how you connect? Because like, and we talk a little bit about it before, but I
Mhm.
want to kind of dive a little bit deeper because this is one of the biggest thing what I have to learn shooting headshots that you have to connect with each person individually, and there's different levels of connection, and then
Mhm.
like working with each person is a different experience, and it's like you're discovering this whole thing all over again with each new
Mhm.
client. So tell me how you connect with your clients. Like, what's the process? They coming to the studio, or I don't know. Like, let's maybe start like the inquiry for photo shoot.
Mhm, like
What's the
from the very,
process?
very
How you kind of
beginning.
get into them, and how you
Mhm,
kind of make this. I would say friendship because that's I think the
mhm.
way I see it. Right? You have to have this connection but trust at the same time, so
Yeah,
they can kind of open up. So like, if you could tell me a little bit how this whole thing look on your end.
sure. A lot of my clients are referrals.
Mhm.
So I do have, uh, people just who find me on Google just based off the reviews, they'll read the reviews and be like, oh yeah, I trust her to like take great photos or whatever. Usually when people come as referrals, like 99% they will book. They don't, worry too much about the price. They just trust the person who referred them that, I'll take care of them. I always ask who referred my clients to me just so I know who I can send a thank you to or things like that, right? Because I do always appreciate when people share my name. I sent a pretty detailed like first email with information and pricing, different options and things like that. Sometimes people want to jump on the phone. I never say no to that, even though I don't like talking on the phone. I will. I had a lady who called me when I was actually on vacation, and she's like, I left a message with 6 people and nobody called me back. And you were the first person that actually called me back. And I feel like a lot of the times I get business this way because I'm like, I don't know how people don't respond to the inquiries right away, but I'm pretty fast. And I feel like it builds trust when I don't wait, like forever to respond to emails. If you notice, I'm terrible with social media. I'm horrible with responding on social media because I'm like emails first and then like everything else comes kind of like second. Within a day, I would definitely respond within a day. Usually if I'm on my email and I get an inquiry, I don't, sit on it and like, oh, let them just like
wait.
Because I'm like, so no, I will literally respond and as soon as I'm able, because I value my time. I'm pretty sure other people value their time as well. So if they can get my information, not necessarily they'll, book, but I know that they will appreciate that I'm getting back to them very fast. And then when we finally, like when we set the date for the photos, like we chatted, I have like this novel of a prep email that I send to all my clients. Depends on if they're a solopreneur, if they're a corporate, if we're doing a branding session somewhere on location, how to prepare, what kind of clothing to bring, how to get your hair and makeup done. You can book somebody or you can do it yourself. What about nails? What about shoes? Like things like that. And I feel like when people have that information, they feel more confident, they trust me better, and they come to the session knowing that like I got their back. Like I know what I'm doing, I know what I'm talking about. They're not worried about, what I'm gonna look like. They know that they will look good. Like we'll look at the options, the clothing options, we'll pick the best ones. I've had people show up with like suitcases to my studio, right? I love that. Like the more the better, like just bring everything. Not the, except hangers, but people still bring suitcases. No wrinkles. Things like that, right? Because I was like, how awesome it is to Photoshop the wrinkles out and things like that. So during the photo shoot, if they're prepared, like if they read the email and they're prepared and all of that, if I've never met them before, we do a little chit chat. Like just when they come in, we chat a little bit about their ride to the studio, about their day, what they do, and things like that. I tend to talk a little more at first, and I feel that even though, like, I'm an introvert, I don't talk a lot usually. Like, I'm usually by myself all day at home if I'm editing and not say a single word. So, but I can turn on an extrovert for a little bit because I feel it helps the clients to relax a little bit. If they come in and I don't say a word, like, what are they going to feel like?
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? I don't know what's happening, blah, blah, blah. But if I kind of take over that, I can see, like, I can feel that they relax, they pull out their clothes, we go through the clothing, we choose. I'm like, yeah, we're going to do this outfit first. We're going to do this outfit second. We have a plan. We make a plan. And a lot of the times, and I'm one of those people, when I know what's coming up, I'm okay. Like I'm not
Mm.
worried. Like it kind of takes that stress away, it takes the edge off, right? So you're like, oh, we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna do this. I got it, like easy peasy. And I tell them immediately, like I pose quite a bit. I will literally move fingertips. Like I pose a lot. Like, and when people see that I fix the hair, right? Like I would come in and I'll fix their hair, I'll fix their glasses, I'll do those little things because there's some things I can fix in Photoshop, some things I cannot fix, or like I cannot Photoshop or don't want to Photoshop. So I feel when they see that I'm paying attention, that's like another step when they're a little more calm, trust me more, and they appreciate me telling them what to do. Like I'm bossy when it comes to like
Mhm.
how in a nice way. Like I'm not, you know.
But I think we have to be in control, right? Like that's, and I
Yeah,
think we appreciate that too. Whenever I'm not saying we're taking like a total control, but
yeah,
they know, okay, they, it
yeah.
seems like you're the guide for the
Mhm.
process. It's not like they're on their own.
Well, they come to you
We're
for a
there
reason,
for
right? Yeah, they're
yeah.
like, "You know what you're doing, I trust you." Like, I hear this all the time. "You know what you're doing, I trust you. Like, you've done this a long time, I've seen your work, I know that you can make me look good. Just do your thing. Like,
Yeah.
just do your thing. I'm just gonna, like, listen to it." Some clients are easier than others, like, even with posing hands or whatever, right? Because it's usually that's another thing I took from Surprise too. It's like the Thunderbird and the claw, like,
Mhm.
don't
Yeah,
do
yeah.
that, like ballerina hands, like super soft limbs, like all that kind of stuff. So, and I say that over and over and over during the photo shoot, and then I can tell at some time, like some moment it just clicks, and they're like, oh, like they'll push their neck forward or they'll themselves, right? So without
Mhm.
me even telling them, and I was like, that's awesome. Like I hope you remember that when like you're in a
Yeah.
group and somebody's taking a group photo of you like at work or whatever with friends and you just do a little this and all of this becomes like
Changes everything. Yeah.
just changes everything, doesn't need to be much or whatever. So the people love that.
Mhm.
And they kind of walk away with a little tidbit of, how they can look
Better.
good in their own photo.
Yeah.
Like even when I'm not there, right? So
Mhm.
I love that. Yeah. And then I'm pretty fast at turning photos around too. So I like I try not to overpromise and stuff, but usually like proofs within a few days. If they get back
Mhm.
to me, like another couple of days for editing. Like I'm pretty fast with the
Yeah.
turnaround.
Well, I think they're still on this kind of like a excitement mode,
Yeah.
right? Where you
Yes,
kind
yeah,
of like
that's why I was like, I
because if
don't
they have to
know.
wait
Yeah.
weeks to get the
No,
photos, it's like this
yeah,
whole kind of excitement is gone and
yeah.
they don't remember, right?
They don't remember what
Yeah.
happened. They're like, oh, I did this. Well, yeah. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I always, I know a lot of people don't, but I always start when we start the photo shoot, I show them the back of the camera a few times,
Hmm.
like just so they know,
We're in the good path.
like you're good, like you're listening to what I'm telling you, you're
Mhm.
following my posing instructions, you're looking amazing. And plus, I will sometimes I was like, oh, I can move this in Photoshop, I can do this in Photoshop. So they kind of look, just like, oh yeah, okay, I'm not gonna worry about this. 'Cause sometimes like they'll bring clothing that doesn't fit properly or
Mhm.
like things like that, right? And they're worried. If they stop worrying about it, it'll show on their face. Like they're not gonna like, oh my gosh, my bra or my whatever. Like
You know
stop.
what? Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's a great point because because I know there's a lot of photographers out there who shooting tethered, right? And they
oh yeah.
show photos throughout the and then
Mhm.
and I remember, and this is like my kind of story that I had the same kind of system put in place, and then I have this one session where this lady came in and I show her some good photos and some not good photos,
Mm.
but the not good photos completely wrecked the
The
session. She's like,
the
oh
other,
my
yeah,
god, this is how I look, and it's
yeah,
just like, okay, it's over, right? Like, and then I was
yeah.
like, you know what, no more. Like, whenever I show them something, it has to be like super good, right?
Super,
And then
yeah,
I think also when you're showing on the small screen on your camera,
yeah.
you really don't see the
It's
details. You
not
just
so
see,
much. No,
beautiful
no.
lighting, and then like, oh my god, looks cool. And as you said, is boosting their confidence and they want to work harder. But if you put stuff on the big screen, and and God forbid they have some
They'll
pimples
see
or
like all
something.
the imperfections and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
exactly. It's
Immediately, I
over,
was like,
right?
"Oh."
It's just like, oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like it helps too, like, if you, um usually if I show a photo, I will literally, I don't wanna say act, but I don't show a photo that I'm not proud of, but I will almost be, like, over the top excited about it, right? It was
Mhm,
like, "Oh my god, look at this, you look
mhm.
incredible, this is the best photo of you, like, you look so good, this is the best angle, like, your skin looks so good, your makeup looks so good, look at the like, your show like, everything's, like, perfect." And they're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, 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 yeah." Like, it's like, this is great, right? Like, it's like be a hype person for your client, like, be that hype person. They're scared, like, they come to you so scared, they're like most of the times, I don't know if you have this you probably do. Do they ever tell you, like, "I've never had a good photo of myself before?"
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think,
Right?
everyone comes in with some kind of insecurities. There's
Yeah,
there's no question about it.
yeah.
But as you said, depends how you, and then, like, I do exactly the same thing. And I know, like, some people might kind of crucify us for this, but you're trying to like plant into their mind they're
Yeah,
gonna get shots, so they
yeah,
kind of, when they see them, they already have like, okay, this expectation, this is going to be good, right?
yeah,
But because like, can you imagine if it's like, okay, this is not going well, like
yeah. Like,
oh, there would be like,
yes.
yeah, yeah, I'm like, it's gonna just ruin the shoot, and the face expression is gonna go down the drain, right,
Totally,
right on the spot, right? But I
totally.
think, and I agree with you 100% that, this is our job to make
Mhm.
sure that they understand the process, and then, we have to build the confidence, because I think sometimes it's not even about the photos, it's like how they digest those photos
Oh,
and how they see themselves.
mhm,
I had this story. I'll share it quickly because I've been saying that story over and over again. But I had this lady, a while ago, and she was a real estate agent. And
mm,
so we did the shoot. Everything went great. Like, I was showing her photos. She was super excited. She was, super, like, kind of hyper during the shoot. And then I sent her the photos, and I deeply believe they were fantastic. Like, they
mhm.
were really good. And she sent me the nastiest email ever. Like, this is like so bad. I hate those pictures. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like, and I'm just like, what's wrong? Like, they're good. Like, everything kind of went well. She got a good face expression. And I said to her, I'm like, look, you know what? Why don't we do this way? You show those photos to your family, your friends. And then if they don't like them, what are we going to do? I'm going to just either give you money back, or we can reshoot it. This is up to you.
Mhm.
And I remember, the weekend went by, and on Monday, I got the nicest email ever. She's like, you know what? I showed those pictures to my family. They all loved them. And then she started telling about her life. I'm going through divorce, and then, I lost job, and I'm doing those photos to get a new job. So she just like saw herself in this really bad light. And what I mean by that, like, her life kind of like
Mhm.
unfolded in front of her by seeing her, and that's why she reacted this, right? And I think everyone comes in with some issues and some insecurities and some kind of, problems, right? And then when they see themselves, all of a sudden this whole thing kind of like, it's
It's a
even
reminder
more in a reminder. Exactly. So yeah, it's very personal, as you said. I 100% agree with you. And
to
we have to read these people to understand that I think it's just 5% of pictures. The rest of it, it's like,
totally emotions. Yeah, yeah,
convince them that, they, because everyone looks good on the picture. Like, if you really think about it, like, I don't think you had a client who was like, bad looking. We make them look good. It's just how they see themselves.
yeah.
That's
Mhm.
what I think the problems kind of kicked in, right?
You told me this story, and it reminded me like a couple of weeks ago, Trina, my makeup artist, and I were doing
Hmm.
our headshot days. And usually it's like essentially a conveyor. Like I'm shooting
Hmm.
somebody at the same time somebody's coming to get the makeup done. So it's like the whole day of
Right.
like
Yeah.
nonstop. So I'm shooting somebody. This new client comes in. I greet her, but she's far away. I don't see like much of her, right?
Hmm.
She goes into makeup, and my other client leaves, and I come up to her, and turns out this poor girl is crying. She's sitting in the chair, like super upset,
Oh.
right? And I'm like, what is going on, right?
Mhm.
I had a huge fight with my sister right before I came here, essentially, like almost like physically fighting, right?
Oh my God.
And at some point, she's like, I wasn't even sure if I'm gonna go, but I decided, like, I've paid the money, I'm gonna show up, I'm gonna
Mhm.
go. So, by like, from the moment that she came in with tears. Trina talked to her, and both of us, like, like we've worked together for like 15 years and stuff like this. So we pretty much have similar style of like talking to
Hmm.
people. And by the time that she left, totally different person, totally
Hmm.
different person. So she was so uplifted. She was so um, like she was like, I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad I didn't cancel. I'm so glad I came. I'm like, I had the best time. It was like exactly what I needed. I didn't want to, like it's like, I'm so glad I didn't stay and like wallow and like kept fighting with my sister or whatever, like things
Hmm.
like that, right? And she sent me like the the nicest email. I was like, I'm so happy because I'm not great with like tears or like people's like, I don't know what to say. Ah,
Yeah.
like, I'm, like, so awkward when it comes to this,
Yeah.
right? I was like, "What do I say?" Like, but
Hmm.
you're right, like, people come to us in all states of mind. Like,
Hmm.
they can have I had another client actually came on location, set up my stuff, was supposed to have a few people over, including, like, one of the managers,
Hmm.
photographed the employees, like, "Where's the man like, where's the" "Oh, she had a bad, um, conversation on the phone with a client or whatever. She's not coming." I was like, "Well, okay. Well, I prefer that than, like, if it's to the point where" and I only have, like, 5 minutes. I was like, "I 5 minutes is not gonna it's not enough time to, like, completely change your mind, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
make it all better," right? Um Yeah, so we're gonna be reshooting that, but it's like stuff like this stuff happens, right? So it's not headshots is something, and I tell the people all the time, it's not like you have a headshot done and you never do them again. Like, literally, it's the easiest thing to shoot again. It's not a wedding,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Exactly.
So if you feel like, okay, I was not in the right mind space for this, I did it anyways. The photos are okay, like I'll live with them. However, when I'm in a better space, you can actually book another session and come in again when you have great mood and you feel like $1 million and your clothes fit and like all of that kind of stuff, like you're happy and all of that. Come back. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't mean
But
that,
it's but it's so fascinating how our mental state
mhm,
can reflects on the
on
shots,
yeah.
right? Like, if someone comes in within like a bad mood or has some problems or issues, or doesn't matter, something's happening in their life, and how much face is showing that. You know what I mean? Because you cannot
It's
pretend you're
tension.
happy.
It's tension over, right?
Exactly.
It's like you can feel
Yeah.
it, like the eyebrow, like the jowls, the eyebrow, like everything. It'll be like
Everything
the
tells a story.
eyes.
Yeah.
Like that's where the deer in headlight looks. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
or like
And
the
people
face.
cannot and people cannot control this. This is the
No.
funniest part, right? Like, if they coming upset, you can, I don't know, do circus for them. They're not gonna laugh because
Yeah.
their mind is completely taking over
Mhm.
by their emotions, and then they
Mhm.
just completely. Yeah, it's interesting, and I think that's what also is so amazing about headshot photography, because we see that. And I don't know if you've noticed, but since I started shooting headshots, like we analyzing faces all the time. Like, you see people, you talk to them, you automatically, like, I think we have way better understanding how what people feel than anybody else, because
Mhm.
we kind of like, even going for thousands and thousands of photos, like, that's what teaches us to understand
Well,
uh
you're a little
the
bit of a psychologist, right? Because you're,
yes.
which is so funny because I do photos for psychology clinics, and they're like, "You're like a
Mhm.
therapist." I was like, "I could never be a therapist."
Yeah, yeah.
'Cause, this I can do, but I couldn't be an actual therapist because I'll
Therapist.
yeah.
I don't even know how to do it, to be honest with you. I don't know.
Oh, no, it's like, "No, thank you." I was like,
I'll
I
tell you, actually, I can share that story, because that
yeah,
was one of the crazy story I've ever kind of.
I love
Well,
crazy
it's
stories.
interesting story, but at the same time, it's showing like how different people see the world and how
Mhm,
they react to it. So I had this girl at the model agency,
mhm,
and she flew from Toronto to shoot here for whatever reason. But and like, you always kind of like, so what do you do for a living, whatever. And she's like, oh, I don't want to say much, like, I could tell you, but it's kind of crazy what I do. And then you get curious. I'm like, okay, so tell me, like, I don't know, you're serial killer, or like, I don't know, tell me what's going on. And she's like, and she works for the Toronto, the what is called, like the prosecutor,
oh,
where so what she does, she works in the place where, where someone commits suicide, or there's like massive, I don't know, car
Oh,
accident, and she basically stitch people together, like, stitch bodies together, kids, adults, like all this, like she's like, sometimes they bring them in the bags, and she needs to basically put them together for, like, kind of, I don't know, doing more tests. It's
oh
just,
my God.
and I'm like, and if you would look at her,
You
she
would
looked
not.
like maybe she's 25, like 24, 25 years old. I think she was a little bit older, but when she looks so young, I'm like, how the hell you even got this job? So she said there was 80 people in the school, and they did some tests, and she get for like this massive education kind of process and testing process to get to that. And those two people who could finish, it was like she and some other guy who
Oh my.
got those jobs. And she wants to be a model, so she's like tiny, very like a petite person doing the crazy stuff. And I'm just like, and I'm like, how you handle this? I'm like, how you can, and she told me like they were bringing kids and babies, after car accidents were just like ripped apart, and I have to
Oh
just
my
like work
God.
on this.
Oh my
uh
gosh.
and then, like, and that kind of hit me so much, that was so funny, like I got so affected that she was like posing and like this is nothing affecting her.
Yeah, yeah.
My head is
She's
just like,
fine. You're
yeah,
like,
and my head is just like ready to blow up from everything what she told me,
oh
because I'm like,
my.
how you can even do this job? But there are people who do that, right? But
Yeah,
my point, what I'm trying to bring, like how emotionally strong we have to be sometimes,
yeah,
right? And how those emotions affecting us, and how they impact our sessions, right?
yeah.
Because we're going through those interesting sessions where, as you said, people come in with some issues, and then we just like, okay, what's going on? Like, we cannot really pull out anything from that person, but there's much deeper issues there than just the pictures, right? So
I feel, you know what, when you, if you listen, like if you let, sometimes the session will take longer because, and
mhm,
I've had like I had a husband and wife, like they came in separately for photos, but they lost their newborn, like
mhm.
not really newborn, like I think the child was 8 months old,
Oh,
to
wow.
the
Okay.
SID syndrome, um, like very shortly prior to the photo shoot. So, like, I was worried. I was like, how is this going to go? Because they're not in a good space, right?
Mhm,
So they needed photos for their work. They needed like headshots for their
mhm,
work and stuff like this, right? So you just spend a little more time. I think when people, like when you talk to people, when you give them space to share, like
mhm,
if you're not rushing them through, it's like, okay, okay, well, I don't care. Like, let's just like forget it and let's concentrate on the photos. It's not going to work. Like, I don't think, at
mhm,
least for me, it wouldn't, right? Like, I couldn't do this. I feel like this is the time when you kind of maybe sit down and chat, right? So sometimes they just need to talk or like just get it out, and then they'd be like, okay, now I can like focus on this, right? Sometimes, depending on the situation, not with this one, but depending on, I was like, okay, well, let's forget about this for like 10 minutes.
yeah, yeah.
Like, and you can tell which person you can do this with, right?
Mhm,
So, like, let's just put this aside, crazy acts or like whatever, and let's just like focus on you and let's make sure you look good and like let's do
mhm,
this, right? A little more playful will work, right?
mhm,
So totally, and this is when you're right, like we're kind of like you have to read people, like you have to read people a little bit. I was like, what's
mhm,
going to work with this person? Is it going to be like, would I much rather be a little more quiet or a little more upbeat, like just to get
mhm.
that energy for them, right?
Yeah.
So um, I feel like this is kind of um, like where a good photographer will definitely shine because people like it depend like doesn't matter what's in their lives and they're like, I still felt good and great like at the photo shoot,
Mhm,
like, and I'm glad I did it, and I'm glad I didn't cancel, and I'm glad I was here,
mhm,
and I got great photos out of it. Despite all of that, like
mhm.
that's um,
But
and I'm
also,
yeah,
like, let's kind of dive deeper, because this is interesting where we're getting with this. But also kind of, I think, works on the the opposite way. Like, if we have a crappy day, right?
Oh,
Like, I've noticed that too. Like, I had these sessions where, there are some issues in life, and you just like,
yeah, yeah,
shoot, like, how I'm going to deal with this. Your head is just occupied by all these problems or problem we have, and people coming in and they're excited, they're happy, and my head cannot focus. Like, you're
mm,
shooting, but you cannot really get, as you said, 100%. You
yeah,
cannot actually adjust it, because like, I agree with you with what you said, and that's amazing, that we have to adopt the client sometimes too, right? Depends if they're introvert, extrovert, and we have to just kind of, okay, adjust ourselves and our personality to who they are. um,
mhm,
but at the same time, kind of works the opposite way, because I remember I had sessions where I was like in a really kind of like pissy mood,
mm,
reflect the photos, because I was trying to get the stuff from them the way I felt,
yeah.
and then I'm like, what the hell I was doing? Like, I had those sessions where it's just like, why are you pissed on every picture? And then it's like, well, that's me. Like, I'm trying
Somebody
to
possessed me. I was possessed. It's not me.
exactly.
But you know what I can tell you about that though? I feel like you and I are probably at the point. You can probably do your photo shoots like eyes closed,
Yes,
like at this
100%.
point.
Yeah.
Like everything is so, to me, anyways, it's so seamless. I've got a process. I know usually I'm gonna start with this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this pose. I'm gonna do that pose, depending on the person. But like
Hmm.
99% of the time, it's pretty much very similar. Um, and I can I can do it like automatically at this
No,
point,
no,
but
100%.
almost like not like um it's
I think sometimes it's like a driving the car where your brain is kind of
yeah,
switched off.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
just
yeah,
like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
where
Right?
I am right
It's
now,
like
right?
how am I home? Like I've been driving for 20 minutes, I don't remember like
Yeah,
so
yeah.
every single life, just like what? But I feel like that's the best part. You do it without even thinking. And it's like I feel like this is when you come to that point, it's fantastic because then you kind of
Mhm,
take the emotions out of it and
mhm,
you're like, no matter okay, not to get like too morbid, like over, but I feel like maybe it was like my way of dealing with it. My brother, when he was killed in
I'm sorry to hear it.
2015, yeah, I had sessions, but my parents called me and I had sessions that day and I did
Mhm.
not cancel them.
Oh, wow.
Right. So, and I'm not saying this to like, but I feel like it was my way of like dealing with
Mhm,
this because I thought, oh, if I'm at home, I cannot be at home by myself. Like I
mhm.
have to be with people. I have to like
Yeah.
do something. I'm not saying this is what you should be doing. People, please don't do that. Like it's not a healthy way to like
Mhm,
deal with stuff, right? But that's the. But I can compartmentalize like a lot of things. Like
mhm,
I can kind of put my emotions on hold for a little bit
mhm,
to get through some things.
mhm.
Um, because I feel like it's helping me. Like
Yeah.
I'm being a little selfish with that because like I feel like I don't want to be a nervous like I don't want to have a nervous breakdown. I don't want to be a wreck in front of my
Yeah.
clients. I don't want to show up as an unprofessional. I don't want to like I just want to present a consistent experience to people no matter what's going on in my life. They will get good
Mhm,
photos out of it, right? So mind you though, I probably like thank God that I didn't have oh like I don't know what must happen for me to like not even like I would probably cancel. Like if
mhm,
it was that bad, I would be like, I'm not
mhm.
doing it.
I had one moment in my life
Mhm,
when I had to cancel
mhm,
because I couldn't do it. I'm
mhm.
not going to go into like a
No, no,
details
no.
we can
Yeah,
talk
yeah,
about afterwards, but
yeah.
I had one moment in my life where I was not able to do it, but it was similar what you went through.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
then I was trying because I said to myself, okay, I have to try to do this because I can take my mind out of what
That's yeah,
happened. And I think maybe that's one of the reasons too that
yeah.
I think when we're shooting, you put your mind in completely different mindset, right?
Mhm.
Because you have to focus on the client, you
Yeah,
have to focus on the
yeah. Yes,
technical
yeah.
aspects, and then you can like literally, as you
Mhm.
said, like go into your kind of part of your mind, which the mind is not taking over, because I think when you in those kind of circumstances or the situations when you like kind of let your mind go loose, it's crazy, right?
Oh,
It's
yeah,
completely out
yeah.
of control.
No.
And I think because we working, then you can just kind of separate and like, I don't know, say shut the door, but you can just kind of,
Oh,
okay, I
heck
gotta focus on this,
yeah.
and I can just kind of maybe not forget about it, what happened, but just I can just kind of put it on the back seat, so
Mhm,
like I can just kind of survive this, right? Yeah,
mhm.
I hear exactly what you're saying, but it's the fact you have to force yourself, that's the hardest part.
Yes. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. But, you know, we're humans too,
Yeah,
right? Like, we're not
absolutely.
robots. Like, we are working with living, breathing people, and we feed on each other's emotions. Like, we kind of like you have this
100%.
energy exchange, and of course, the best is when everybody's in a great mood and everybody's excited, but it's life, and
Yeah,
sometimes things don't go perfect. Most of the
yeah,
times they don't go perfect, right? But you show up, and I feel like that's the biggest was like you show up, they showed up, let's make it work. Like
yeah.
let's yeah.
But I want to add one more thing to this. So I had this workshop like many years ago, and I had this gentleman who came in, and this is actually going to be a really nice addition with what you just said.
Mhm,
And he told me that he was a like very high up in one of the corporate worlds,
mhm,
where like he was making a lot of money, good position, and but a lot of stress.
mm,
And so at some point, like he started having like health issues, and the doctor told him, look, you have two options. You're either going to slow down with work, or you're going to quit it, or you're going to end up with heart attack or stroke. Those are two options.
yeah.
And so he started like, he told me like, you gotta better find some hobby where you can just like take your mind off your work, because that's what really kind of put a lot of stress on you, and you need break from this. So he started kind of like shooting, right? He got the camera, started taking pictures of the
That's
family members and friends. And he came to my workshop, and he says, hey, you know what, I want to learn more, because I know the basics, but I want to understand more. So we had this kind of interesting conversation, and he said to me that the photography is therapy for him, because he's kind of relearning how to interact with people,
Oh,
because he's like in the corporate world, like everything is cutthroat, like you
mhm,
cannot trust anybody, you kind of on your toes, your eggshells, you got to just be careful, because there's always someone try to kind
get
of
your job or whatever,
screw
yeah.
you over, take your job, or they're going to fire you. There's always this like, there's no trust in corporate world, like not everywhere, but the world where he worked. And he says to me like, I even have to just learn how to trust like with my family, because and it was so hard. But the photography, when I have to work with them and pose them, and they have to trust me, I have to trust them and trust the process, that's really healing for me. And that for me, it was just a kind of one of those like wow moments, where you're just like, oh my god, I didn't even know that photography could be potentially some kind of therapy for people
Yeah,
to kind of learn how to, I'm not saying maybe be yourself, but how to
yeah,
trust people, how to, and
yeah,
that's what we have to do, right? Because
yeah,
everyone who comes through the door, we need to automatically have trusted them, and they have to
mhm,
trust us. And this is like something
mhm,
we have to learn.
yeah,
So that was like one of those like my little stories, where I'm thinking like for many years about it, that maybe at some point photography as an art form could become some kind of therapy for people,
mhm,
right? Where they can work with somebody, and then just, and we're living in this world where we cannot trust anybody. Like if you think about it, like we're living in a very bizarre world where nobody's trust anyone, right? Like especially
but do
now.
you find, like, uh, when you go somewhere and you have your camera with you, I feel so much safer and better. Like, I was like, "Oh, I can talk to anybody," but when I don't have my camera
Different,
with
yeah,
me, right? I'm
yeah,
like
yeah.
I'm, like, literally standing by the wall not talking. I was like, I it's just insane for me at least, right? I was like, I
Yeah,
know,
yeah, no, I have exactly the
you
same. Yeah,
know?
I think camera just changes our personality a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, like when you have like even during the headshot session, like whenever you have everything set up and client comes in and you take control, it's like you in charge,
Yeah.
right? And then I'm not saying they listen to you, but they kind of submit themselves to you throughout
Mhm.
the photo shoot, right? So
Mhm.
I think it's interesting that we can have kind of situation like a little bit under control for sure.
Mhm. No, that's awesome. No, I don't know. I feel like we chatted about this before too. It's like I think it's a great skill, and
Mhm.
even wedding photographers
Absolutely.
should learn that, or or because a lot of the times, even during weddings, like we take portraits of bride, groom, whatever, like
Mhm.
all this stuff. But that's
Yeah.
probably the only times that you would take a portrait, right? But those were my favorite ones, like when it's the one-on-one, right? Um, so yeah, no,
Because you
I'm
actually work with them, right? I
yeah,
think I think I think also back in the days, I'm sure you, because we started wedding photography at the same time,
yeah,
right? Like 2008.
yep,
And that was the transition, I remember, where the wedding photography was going from like portraiture type in
mhm,
studio into this like photojournalistic, where you're just like running after the bride and groom entire day, and chasing them and doing crazy photos and crazy ideas, and like doing this like literally insane stuff. Like I remember some of the, yeah, it was just kind of crazy. um but yeah, and then when you get this like, one on one, that was the time where you can really kind of shine as a photographer, because you could
yeah,
just, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So
Well,
let's switch the gears a little bit, because
okay,
we got very emotional here.
fine.
Let's talk a little bit about the current state of headset photography, and tell me, what do you think about AI? And then the reason I'm asking about it, because this is one of the biggest fears, which is kind of like facing us as a photographers.
Mhm,
I know there's a lot of discussions on on that topic. I know it's also touching slowly headshot photography.
mhm.
I did actually recently quite interesting interview with a gentleman who owns the company where you basically upload bunch of selfies and the AI spits out some headshots.
Oh,
Well, we could have a long conversation on this. I'm not gonna comment, and I
okay.
don't want to say. Well, it's not there yet. I
Yeah,
think.
because I tried it. I did try that
Oh,
app, but I tried
it's
maybe
horrifying. Yeah,
another
yeah,
app.
yeah,
I
yeah,
was like, I did it just to show people though.
yeah.
Like I was like, okay, I'm gonna pay $12 or whatever the app
Mm.
cost or something like this. And I did the same thing. I uploaded my selfies, got like 20 different headshots back, got scared and deleted them all. And I'm like, I'm not like I can't. It's yeah. I actually didn't delete them. I kept them just so I can show people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like
No,
this is
I did exactly the same thing, and it's,
mm.
yeah, it's like,
Well, you know what? I had a few people that called me that said their lady is like, I really tried. She's like, I tried to use free apps, I tried to use paid apps
mhm,
to get the new headshots. None of them worked. I didn't like any of them. So let's book a session.
yeah,
Right. So
yeah,
I think people, which is, you know what, it's so funny to me. I feel okay, don't get me wrong. I love AI. It has a time and a place. I love it in Lightroom. I love it in Photoshop. I love it in the editing, like back
mhm,
end of
yeah,
it, like when I'm using it to like make stuff go away or replace something or whatever, but it's still not there fully anyways, and you know that, right? You're like,
yeah,
can we just like, like it's like remove this person, I'll give you like a zombie person instead or something like this. It's
mhm,
like fantastic. I love it. Um, it has a time and a place for it to be used. Um, Eventually, I think it'll come to and photographers will need to adapt when it's like it's going to be very realistic.
mhm,
It's definitely not there yet, but I think there are tools that we could be using that will help us
yeah,
either save time or enhance the photo, make it better, make it, like I've replaced backdrops with it. It works
mhm,
great, like stuff like this, right? So
yeah.
that we could
Just
use.
kind of elevating the images. But I
Yeah,
think
like
what is the biggest challenge for AI, and I'm like wondering if they're gonna be ever. Well, I'm sure they will, but I think how they're gonna do it, and then the next question is, if that's even going to be possible, because
mhm,
AI has no emotions, right? And this
yeah,
is what I've noticed, that those images which were created by AI, like literally had no control over it, like face expressions and body
which are you
language.
using? Which programs are you using?
So there's Headshotly or something. I'll
Mhm,
send you the link. Yeah, yeah. It's
mhm.
it's well, and but it was interesting, like when I talked to this guy, he told me, which was fascinating, that in order to get good outcome, you have to provide good headshots.
Uh-huh.
Preferably done by professional photographer.
Yeah, because people
Which
will
kind
send
of
me
like
like
make
badly
me
lit. Yeah.
chuckle because I'm like, what's the point going to the professional and then paying extra
Hilarious.
to
Oh my god.
so that was kind of the moment where, because like I'm getting a lot of questions, right, like from
Yeah.
other photographers, and they're like, what do you think about it? And like I was just like, I don't know, because it's I don't know on what kind of level this technology is at this point, right? Because they're showing you some amazing examples, that the outcome, but when you start digging and you put yourself there, it's a completely different story. Because I they gave me access to actually upload my own images. And like what was also fascinating for me, and when I asked him this question, I'm like, how you approach ethical part of this, because there was a lot of headshots where like literally my head was like replaced with different body, and I'm like, it's not me,
Oh,
right, it's this completely different person.
wow.
And so this is like, yeah, well, it's just what the AI does, and if it doesn't have any information, they just make stuff up as they go, right? So that's the problem. But then I'm like, it's even legal, right? Like if you, let's say, I don't know, applying for acting job,
Yeah.
or and then I don't know, any type of
Like
job,
any job, like that
and
you
then
should
and then
look
you showing like someone who is not, it's well, it's your face, but the rest of it, it's not you. How that is ethical, and if this is even legal, or I don't know. I guess it's legal at this point, because I don't think there's any
yeah,
rules by that. But like how you feel about it, if you like lying straight from the start,
beginning, yeah.
applying about the job, right? So I think there's a lot of questions, how this whole thing's gonna
Like ethical,
unfold.
like maybe not like legal, like from the but definitely not ethical, I think, because it's kind of like you're misguiding people, right? Like
Mm.
you're um and again, like that's not to say, oh, everybody, whatever. Like I understand, like not everybody's going to go and get professional headshots done.
Mhm.
However, it doesn't like you still need to look like you. And like when I'm editing, it's probably the same as you, right? It's like I can edit to a point, but I don't want to edit you into a totally different person.
Yeah.
Like that's not the goal here. Like the goal is to make you look rested, to make you look like you had good 8 hours of sleep, like you're not tired, you're all those things. But
Mhm.
like if you ask me to like liquefy you to like
Oh
50
yeah.
pounds lighter, or change the color of your hair, or um things like that, I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna do that. Like it's
Yeah,
not,
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
Are you getting those requests nowadays?
no, actually, thank goodness, no. Like usually women are like, oh, well, feel free to, like when it's usually it's like, feel free to shop Photoshop, it means like
Yeah.
just
Make me,
freaking
yeah,
Photoshop, right?
remove 20 pounds. Yeah.
Yeah. I that actually is very common, right? Like you
Yeah.
like to lose like 10, 20 pounds in Photoshop. It's like, yeah, sure.
Well, and we have the tools, right? Like we can
Yeah,
do that. So it's not like the
yeah,
AI do this thing. Like we can do that. But I
yeah.
think as we I think, well, we both agree, there is some, we have to draw the line from the ethical perspective, right?
Do you
That
ever outsource retouching?
no, I don't. You know what? I was trying to do this a while ago, but
Mhm,
many years ago. I was like, because I was busy, and I was like, okay, maybe that would be a good idea to outsource those stuff. But
mhm.
I think finding right retoucher
It's very
was a
difficult.
challenge,
Oh my
right?
gosh. Yeah.
Because some of them, they were going overboard, and like
Yeah.
those, as you said, like
Yep.
the images were coming back. This is not the person I send you. Like it's just
Yeah.
completely different person. The timing was also a little bit concerned, because sometimes it took weeks to get them done,
Oh, oh gosh.
so that was another kind of problem.
Mhm.
And then I felt like it's not my style of images,
Yeah.
the style what I'm looking for, right? So I agree with you with AI right now. Like I don't know what you're using for retouching, but I
Oh, I
really
just said
automated.
for Photoshop. Like I
Yeah,
don't
yeah, yeah,
use
yeah. But automated, like I basically do retouching through AI right now, because you can control it a little bit better. And
mm,
then for like, it depends what kind of shoot, right? Like if you're
yeah,
doing some corporate stuff, like we're not looking for some crazy retouching
yeah,
process, right? It's pretty straightforward. And especially, I think we got so good at lighting, and then like
yeah.
clients are prepared. We know how to approach this. So I think a lot of those images, they pretty good straight from the camera. You just need a little bit touch here and there, and then they're good to go, right? And then I'm also trying to kind of make sure that the images look, especially with the face, like, realistic, the background
Your
and all this
lighting
stuff.
is
I like
so beautiful, though. Your lighting is so beautiful. Like I love it doesn't feel overdone. Like if it makes
Mm,
sense, right? It
yeah.
feels like it highlights the right things
Mhm.
and hides the right things.
Yes.
So this is, yeah, like it's a very hard thing to do. So you're doing a fabulous like job at it. Like it's um you nailed it. Like you're like, yeah, looks beautiful. I can't like I'm sure they look amazing like just as you shoot them. It's just a little
Yeah,
tweak
yeah, yeah.
in there and stuff.
Which,
Like
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. So that's, yeah. So yeah, and then like I used to, like, retouch myself, but I spent a lot of time on it, and that was just like
Mhm.
frustrating. um I'm sure you remember, like, we have all this like process, like with retouching, but now it's a little bit faster and we can focus
Yeah.
on other stuff. But yeah, the main thing is becoming, like, the face expressions and the body language, the clothing,
Mhm.
all this stuff, right, which we can enhance those images. So I
Totally.
think that's that on that point. I think it's changed in a positive way. But yeah, all this like fake AI images, spitting, that's not there yet, and I think it's gonna take a long time till they get to the level where people will be happy with the results.
I like where you're going with the virtual backgrounds
Yeah.
because every once in a while, like, especially with corporate, they're like, "Oh, we want photos, um, like the office window and blah blah blah."
Mhm.
And I was like, "Well, obviously, like, there's no such like unless we actually go and shoot the photos
Yeah.
there."
So do you do any digital backdrops for your work?
I create them in Midjourney, like I
Okay. So
or
we'll talk afterwards, and
we
then
can, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
we can
I'll
talk
be more than
because
happy to help you with that. Yeah, it's
totally
really
because
easy for us. Yeah.
every once in a while, it's like most of the times, usually with corporate, it's like white backdrop, dark backdrop,
Yeah.
like 2 options, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe 3, like light gray, like
Yes.
stuff like this, right?
Yeah.
So, like, don't get all crazy.
Yeah.
But you
And
know?
by the way, what about the window, right? It's just like, yeah.
Oh, well, and usually the windows, if we're shooting in an office, sometimes they're dirty, right?
Mhm.
Like, if they're, like, on a 20th floor, like, who knows when they
Yeah,
cleaned
yeah,
them last. Sometimes they have crap, like, to the sides or whatever, like, that I can't move. Or sometimes I cannot put the person there because the huge table, like, right in front of it or something like this, right? So, yeah. So I feel like that kind of stuff, like, that's really interesting to me because every once in a while, I was like, I can shoot, and then, if there's a way to just, like, superimpose a person on it in a natural looking way,
mhm,
like, that's great, right?
yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. But also at the same time, I just tell people, I was like, it's not like I'm perfect. Like like I've had my share of like screw ups with
Oh, yeah, yeah.
with
We all
clients.
we all did, right? Like, I
And
think that's just a part of the process. Like, we
yeah,
stuff.
like, and I feel like it's just a learning process for all of us still, even the like
It's never ending.
this
I
stuff,
think, that's what is amazing about, I think, having own business and doing what
Mhm,
we do, that there's never ending learning process, right?
mhm.
Ever. And like, even we talk a little bit prior, right? Like, this arrogance. I don't know, at least in my case, I
Yeah,
remember when I start switching into headshots, because I still want to stay in the industry and I still do photography.
yeah.
I was just like so arrogant. I'm like, headshots. Come on, like, it's just the easiest thing ever. I'm just
I
gonna get
know.
someone at the front of the camera, and, like, because the wedding, like, that's what I think mentioned, that like, you think you, you know everything, right? And then I remember my first headshot session, and the images turned out so bad. I'm just like, what
You're
the
like,
hell happened here? Like,
"Ah."
why they not as good as I kind of expected? And
Well,
then it just kind of hit me hard. I'm like, okay, you know what, this, but till today, like, if you talk to photographers, and I'm sure you've heard that conversation many times, like, headshots is this really easy. Like, what's about it to shoot headshot?
uh, yeah, it was so funny. I had um couple of months ago photographed like a corporate client. It was like 20 people or something like this. And they're like, they had headshots done 3 weeks prior.
Mhm.
I was like, wow. By somebody's friend or
Mhm.
something like that who does food photography, like
Mhm.
not even professionally. So they just photograph like food for Instagram or whatever, like stuff
Mhm.
like this, right? And nobody liked their photos. Like, go figure. I don't know how that happened,
Mhm.
right? It's like, yeah, like I feel people, like that's what I'm saying. It's like people need to really find what they're passionate about, right? Like if you're passionate
Mhm.
about weddings, great. Just stick with weddings. Like be the best. Like get all the reviews from people. Make sure all of that stuff is, like rocking for you. Like
Mhm.
if you're focusing on something, just pursue that. Like do that. Like don't try and, people assume that if we have a camera in hand, we can go and photograph birds in the sky and like people like I don't know, like I was like couldn't care less about birds. Like I don't have the patience to like get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and like wait for a bird or whatever.
Yeah.
Or like with the right amount of light to hit the mountain or something like this. I was like,
Yeah.
I can appreciate it, but not my thing. Like totally not my thing, right? I was like, I found what I love. I love the one-on-ones. You know, I love creating images for people that they think like, oh my gosh, I never thought I could look this
Very
good.
good. Yeah.
I feel like this is my contribution to society.
Yeah.
you know? Uh,
Yeah.
I think everybody
Agree.
deserves a beautiful photo. I think like with my whole heart, I was like, everybody needs a beautiful photo of themselves. Everybody.
100%. 100%. But I
Yeah.
think, you know what, like people, and I don't know, it just comes down to education
Mhm.
because, like I had this conversation. I'm not going to mention the company name or anything like that. But what is fascinating for me that, sometimes you have those businesses or websites where, people or companies spend hundreds of thousands of dollars for images of their products, and then their images of their staff or
Yeah.
employees looks like total crap.
Whole like executive team that's like,
Exactly. Yeah. And then like I could mention the names, but like I don't want to do it. But
mm,
it's interesting for me that like it's like the human element is just like literally they don't care.
no.
And I'm like, I cannot even imagine, like, how you can spend, let's say, so much money on your product photography, but your executive people look like
They just
they've
came
been
out of jail.
drinking for the last week or something.
Yeah.
But but we like also talk like about like companies which I would say the people are the business. What I mean, like I say, lawyers, doctors.
Yeah.
Like if you go on any like even medical websites where doctors are kind of showcased through their companies, like they look awful, like really awful. I'm like, and it's that doesn't take much, and I don't think it's even that kind of expensive, like for a company which makes, I don't know, millions of dollars to pull up some kind of photo shoot for their doctors or nurses, so
Mm,
make them look presentable, approachable, make them look professional, right? It's I think should be mandatory. I mean, especially if you're running that type of business, like
yeah.
it's just kind
People
of like it's hard, like it's heartbreaking sometimes to see this stuff, and we
mm,
see that constantly, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a interesting stat that I read once. It takes a person less than like one, I think, tenth of a second when they
Mhm.
see a photo to decide whether they trust you or not.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? So it's subconscious. Like you're not thinking about it consciously. You look at somebody. This is why, like, whatever those dating sites, you just
Yeah.
like this, right? You're not even thinking. It's like yes, no, yes, no. Like like it doesn't even take like a second for you to like, yeah, I want to talk to this person. I want to talk to this person. Um, like if you're in a business where it's important for you to build trust with people quick, for them to book with you, like if they go on your website and be like, oh my gosh, this person can't even like get a good
Mhm.
photo done, maybe it's time to invest in good photos, right? Because you could be losing clients. Like people could be losing clients just based on that, right? Because they're
Oh,
like,
100%. 100%.
like they don't seem like, why am I not getting? I was like, well, maybe your profile photo is from your friend's wedding, whereas somebody else's hand is over your shoulder. Like maybe not. Or it's a photo of you on a top of a mountain. We can't even see your face.
Yeah.
Like it's good that you're hiking, but
Good for
nobody
you.
can see your face. Good for you. Like different scenario. Like we don't like time and a place. Like this is not the time for a photo. You know what I mean? But like it's yeah, yeah,
Especially I think for professionals, right? Like if
yeah.
you are in the professional field, you have a business, or I don't know, you work for company, or like I think company, there's a lot of companies in Calgary where I found, like, they taking care of this stuff, and they want to make sure that their employee and the teams looks professional.
Yeah.
But not all of them. But what is fascinating for me, that the very high end ones, which they should have that mandatory, they don't have it. And like sometimes they don't even have it pictures at all. Like that's what it's
Oh my
another.
gosh.
Oh yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh. So what's your process, Rafael? Like how do clients find you?
So you know what? As the same as you,
Mhm.
prefer, and I do everything what I can to have referrals, because those are the clients who they trust you. They Those are the clients who, you don't have to negotiate anything. They come in and they want to work with you. So that's kind of the ideal client of mine that I love. I love working with return clients,
Mhm.
but what frustrates me the most is, like, when they get the one good photo, or like they're gonna get the good session, they just like, okay, I'm done for life. I have clients who, like, you have those same, right? Like, five,
Yeah.
10 years, and they like, hey buddy, like it's time to take your
Yeah.
headshot again, because the last one was like 7 years ago.
7 years ago.
No,
Come on.
no, no, it's still good. I
Yeah, yeah. I still like it. I still
I
like
still
it.
like it. Yeah,
I
exactly.
still look like me.
And then, like another thing, what I do, I'm trying to approach those companies, and kind of have this educational approach to explain to them, like, what, if you have a company in that kind of level, I think you should, or you're
Present yourself.
supposed to
In the,
present your team, and your
Mhm.
executives, and employees in that kind of level, that kind
Mhm.
of showing that you also respect your employees, right? Because that's another thing. But I think it's like, it doesn't matter which it doesn't matter if it's Canada or States and Europe, because like I also sometimes, I talk to a lot of headset photographers in
Oh,
Poland,
nice.
and
Mhm.
they running into the same problem. Not problems,
Oh,
but the same challenges, right?
right.
But I
Percent.
think you know, like after COVID, everything have changed, right? Like, there's more attention to it a little
Yeah.
bit. Hoping right now with those digital backdrops going to
Yeah.
add something more, that those images, they're going to be a little bit more, I would say, visually interesting.
Yeah.
um but still, I think this, as I said, the human element is kind of like, especially if companies, they putting on kind of on the side a little bit. So we'll see. I think the work is there for us. Like, I'm not really worried about that stuff. It's just a
Yeah.
matter to making people understand how important that is, because I
Mhm.
think a lot of those companies, they don't get it, right? That's
Mhm.
what
Mhm.
interesting.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like I feel like especially with COVID, it's a huge emphasis on visuals now, right? And um, especially like lots of companies are still remote, so they
Mhm.
need photos for their remote people, like when they do Zooms and whatever, like all the conference, like they need people to be presentable on their online
Yeah.
platforms and things like that, or be consistent on LinkedIn, like we talked about it, right? Like all the socials across socials. It's like, okay, well, if this person is doing this with their photo and this person is doing that, there's no consistency. If there's no consistency, the trust is lower, like stuff like that, right? So,
Yeah.
mm,
100%.
yeah.
100%. And also, like, if you, let's say, hiring somebody for their service, let's say, for example, a lawyer,
Mhm.
right? And you going online, because that's usually what people do. The first
Oh,
thing,
yeah.
they're going online and check it. And how I can trust someone and pay them, let's say, $400 an hour,
Oh,
if
more
they're
than
holding
that.
their beer on their picture? Like,
Yeah.
are you taking seriously this job, or are you just like having
Or they
fun?
were
Like,
just standing against the wall and
yeah,
somebody just like
yeah,
snapped a photo. I don't know. Like
yeah, yeah.
it's,
So the question is how we can educate these people, because that's the thing, right? Like how we can get into them. Like, even like if you look at let's say dealerships, right? Like,
Oh, they're so hard. I've never had a single dealership. Like, I've had
yeah,
dealerships message me for photos. I send them my usual pricing, never hear back.
yeah,
They don't see, like, people will keep buying cars. They feel like whatever, it doesn't matter what we look like. People will still come and buy
yeah,
cars from
yeah,
us,
yeah,
right? Same with other businesses where they feel like we'll still get business regardless
yeah, 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 yeah.
whether we
Well,
have
I
the
think those businesses who have that kind of attitude, it's really hard
yeah.
to get into them
So,
because
and I'm
if
not
you,
trying to break into those because I'm like, I'm gonna take care of people who actually value that,
yeah,
like what we
but
do
like
because
even just like
yeah,
just for the sake of the company that like you
yeah.
have it's not even about you don't care about if we're going to get the more business or less business, but just
Mm,
for the respect for your own employees, that make
yeah,
them look presentable and make them look
yeah,
professional, and whoever's going to look at them because they work for your company,
yeah.
why they kind of don't look professional, you know what I mean?
It's
And
crazy
like,
because usually those big companies have big like marketing budgets and things like
you know
that.
what, I don't, well, I agree with what you're saying, but what I'm saying is like I don't think they don't have money. That's what I'm trying
Oh,
to say.
they have money. They just choose to spend it like
Yeah, 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 yeah,
elsewhere, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know how can we educate them on the importance of photos? Like unless they understand that having consistent image of their employees across the platforms, whether it's on their business cards, on their websites or socials. Um, they just have to like we can talk to them to like till we're blue in the face,
Mhm.
and
I
unless
think what would be interesting, like create some kind of trend that this is something that
mm,
it's trendy to have that, right? I think that
yeah,
would be the way, because I think if one company would do it, then the other companies would just follow, right? So
yeah,
I think what we would have to do somehow is to break to like some of those top companies, so the other kind that would
mhm,
trickle down, right? But if you look at some big companies, their images look like shit. Like,
yeah.
when we finish, I'll show you some examples. It blows my mind. And then I look at it and I'm like, seriously, like the main picture of your product is like top of a notch, like probably like, I don't know, 20 people work on this for weeks, and your CEO looks like total garbage, like how that even, and like it's on the same website. That's what is
Yeah,
the most
oh,
fascinating thing, right?
oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm just hoping that as let's say I'm photographing executive teams or board of directors or whatever, they just tell their friends. They'd be like, "Oh, hey, we did those photos. We had those photos done. Svetlana was really fun. Like she made it so easy. The photos
yeah,
came like the turnaround was very fast. It was like the easiest photo shoot ever." Like maybe that will kind of start changing people's
changing.
minds.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just the
I
word of
think we
mouth.
should go to the top, and then it slowly
Yeah,
is gonna,
go to the
like,
top. Just go straight to the top. Okay, let's do it. Let's
I
do
think,
it, Rafael.
yeah, we'll definitely work more on this, because I think that's the biggest issue, to
Mhm.
make people understand the value of it. And then, this is what you also said, and then, like, I've read that too, that it takes like literally split of the second if you trust the person
Mhm.
or not, and then through images is the first thing, right?
Yeah,
So, and like, I don't know how, let's say, real estate agents, I'm not saying everybody, but like, they basically make the business through their pictures, you know what I mean? Because that's how they want people to trust them. And you
yeah,
cannot invest, like, I don't know, $300 for
yeah.
$400 for a
Or
session to make the main thing would make brings you the business, make it look good, right?
yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So funny you say that. I just had a client last week who did his real estate, like new in real estate, right? I did his photos. I do my usual editing, and then he's like, "Can I have the unedited photos? I like them better." And
Oh.
I'm like, "What? Like, what? I don't know." But I was like, that kind of stuff was like, sure, whatever, you can have them. Like, I was like, you can, like, the only thing is I have to like go back to my raw files because I save, like, I was like,
Bulk image.
I don't, you know, so I had to go back to that, get those, whatever, convert to JPEGs.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
it's like, I can't believe, I was like, no way. But I was like, okay, well, some people are like that, I guess. I don't know.
That would be even easier for us, right?
Yeah, interesting. I was like, every once in a while, I have women that they're like, don't retouch my wrinkles, right?
Mhm.
I was like, very rarely, but it does happen.
Yeah.
Things like that.
I
But
have this guy. a couple of weeks ago. It was kind of interesting. So he called me. So he was some financial advisor or something.
Oh, yeah,
That's
yeah,
how
yeah.
he kind of introduced himself.
Mhm.
And he gave me this long list of requirement. Like 5 outfits,
Oh, yeah.
some hairstyles, and,
Oh,
and you go. The list goes on and on and on and on, right? And I'm listening carefully. I'm like, okay, that's great. I like people who know what they want.
yeah.
And then, at the when he finished, he's like, okay, so what's the price? So I told him the price, and he lost it. Like, he's like, what do you mean? That much money for pictures? I'm like, well, like I'm gonna spend like half of the day with you, like,
Yeah.
especially going through everything what you want. Plus, there's retouching process. There's a lot of work involved, and it was so fascinating for me. There's two things. One, uh, he was just like bragging about how much money he makes right at
Yeah.
the beginning, and then when I told him the price, like he completely lost it. Like I would just, I don't know, slap him in the face with
If you could reach the
$30 bill or
computer.
something. Exactly. And he's like, no, 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 I cannot accept this. I'll go and find somebody else. I'm like, you know what?
Do it.
I will help you even to find somebody else. Like,
Yeah.
if you need list of other good photographers, I don't know if you can find for the price range you're looking for and the quality you're looking for, but I'll be more than happy to do that. So again, like I think what is interesting is this still kind of stigma around headshot that they should be then done quickly,
Like super cheap.
cheaply, and then
Yeah.
they have all this, like, high end results for the kind of, I don't know, the quality they're looking for. So it's kind of
Mm.
interesting how the mentality, I think, is interesting, of people, like how they think about headshot photography, because like I know 20 years ago it was completely different story. Now, like, evolved to completely own entity, right? Where we're like, you and me, we specialize in headshots. Like, this is like what we dedicated our life to, right? Like, you shoot a lot, you analyze it, you learn, you try and work with lighting and retouching
Mhm.
to bring this people to the level that they look really professional and
Yeah.
really good, right? So, but
That's
I
okay.
don't
I
think there's
feel
understanding.
I'm positive though, Raquel. Like I feel like people will see the value, especially now that everything is moving towards being authentic, being, true to yourself, and things like that. Especially with like the branding photos as well, not just the headshots,
Mhm.
but with the branding
That's
photos.
becoming more popular too, I found. Yeah.
Right. So, because people want visuals on their social media, they want
Yes.
a little more like polished look for their photos
Yes.
and not just the cell phone photos, right? So um, I love that. Like I like the kind of like the documentary style of
Mhm.
the branding photos to complement the
Yeah.
headshots. Like when people come to me, it's like I want this and I want this, and I was like, we can do that. It's going to be two different sessions. Like
Yeah.
one, you'll come to my studio, we'll do the headshots, and then the other session will be we'll go on location, we'll do this and this and that. Like
Yeah.
it just like if you're setting expectations, they'll. But like I say, I'm not worried about people who don't get it because they will never
Mhm.
get it. Like they'll
Yeah. Yeah. No. No. I 100%.
you, and it's usually honestly like it's usually people who actually make a lot of money. They'll be like, "What? I cannot believe it." I was like, "How dare you charge this much?" Right? It's like
Yeah. Yeah.
I've got people who literally save, to work with me. Like and for those people, trust me, they're getting extras because I'm like, I appreciate those people. I want to reward them for doing it. Like um, at the same time, like I don't haggle on prices. Like I never do. Like I never negotiate. It's like this is the price. Uh,
Mhm. So
like
do I. Yeah.
yeah, I was like, no, like if you're not happy, there's tons of other photographers that can take your business. Like I I know what I bring, you know what you bring. We know why we charge what we charge. Like, and again, I'm not saying that I'm not even by Calgary like measures. I'm not expensive. Like I'm not. I don't. I know those people that charge more than I do,
Yeah.
right?
But I
So
also I think I say that, whenever they kind of like freak out about the price, and
mhm,
like I always tell them, like, how much it costs you not doing this properly.
Yeah.
because people don't calculate that stuff because they're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I have to pay, I don't know, X amount of money for a headshot
Yeah.
session. But
Or
calculate how much you're going to lose by not having professional headshot.
yeah.
And then,
Or
then they start
go and
thinking
pay
a little bit.
little and you have to redo them. How many times do people come in, be like, I had headshots done, I hated them. Now I'm doing them again, right? So paying twice, right?
Yeah.
And I feel um people really, and I'm like photographers, just like we need to focus on customer service more. Like we need
Mhm.
to make sure that the reason why people should come and see us is because we're so customer service oriented. Like we want, like as much as you do, as much as the client, we want this to be a success.
Mhm.
Like ours,
100%. Yeah.
we want to make sure that the experience is so good that that you're happy you spent that money, like that you're
Mhm.
happy you booked and you're happy that you came here and you'll come back again and you'll send your friends. And I had a client recently who came in, we had the headshots done. Before she even left, she was like, I'm booking my friend in, like for the
Mhm.
following headshot day. So she purchased a session for her friend. She's like, she
Nice.
needs to experience this. It's always like family first, husband first, kids first, work first, but never her first. So
Yeah.
she's like, I want my friend to like come in and the whole thing be about her, right?
Mhm.
So get hair, makeup done, just be pampered, look beautiful, all the kind of things, right? So
Mhm.
um, you cannot get that with AI. You will never get that with
No, no, no,
AI,
no.
right?
And I think,
So
I 100% agree with you that a lot of people don't even realize the headshot session also is experience, right? As you
mm,
said, the hair, makeup, make yourself
mm,
beautiful. And
yeah,
then, the finale of this, is getting the shots which you're happy with, and,
yeah,
they can work for you for the long run. Yeah,
yeah,
100%.
yeah. No, I feel what we do is very important. I feel like I'm finally, after whatever, like 17 years of doing photos and doing weddings for so long and stuff, I finally am in a niche that I really, really, truly enjoy
Hmm.
and like genuinely, right? So I'm like, I love talking to other business owners because
Hmm.
sometimes you can get like certain teammates was like, you're not even in the same industry, but I really like what you do. Like, how can I
Yeah.
implement this in my business and things like that, right? I love connecting people. A lot of the times, probably the same with you. They'll come in and be like, oh, I need help with this. I'm struggling with this. Well, things though, like I've got my network is like so extensive. Like I can
Hmm.
connect you to so many
Whatever you
people,
need. Yeah.
whoever you need, I can connect you
Hmm.
to, right? To help with your business and like get stuff off the ground, right? So
Hmm.
yeah, it's way more than just photos, way more
Yeah.
than just photos. So
Perfect.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we're supposed to talk for an hour, so like hour and a half.
It's always great when you're talking to somebody as nice as yourself. Then the
Thank you.
time
What?
doesn't feel like,
Likewise. I think we
thank
could
you.
talk for about
Probably,
another few hours.
yeah,
But what I want to say, let's let's plan another one
sure.
in near future, and because it seems like we just touched this topic,
Yeah,
the way I feel
we
it.
can dive deeper for
We
sure.
can dive deeper into this.
Yes,
So
please.
let's kind of wrap this up, and
Okay,
then I'll just gonna end the podcast, and then we'll chat for a few more minutes. But I
sounds
want
good.
to say thank you again for
Thank you.
chatting, for all your amazing advice, and I think we experienced similar things anyways. So
Thank you.
as you said, it's kind of nice to talk to someone who kind of understands you, that on the same kind of, we're on the same page with some of those things,
Thank
which
you.
is
Thank you. Right back.
fascinating. And so let's kind of finish this, and then let's talk for a couple of minutes when we
Sure.
kind of end
Sure.
up.